The middle of the road is trying to find me. I'm standing in the middle of my life with my plans behind me. I've got a smile for everyone I meet. As long as you don't go dragging my bay or dropping the bomb on my street, come on, baby, get in the road. Come on now, in the middle of the road, yeah. So what do Chrissie Hynde and the Pretenders have to do with the new Camry? Well, Toyota's trying to be middle of the road without appearing to do so. Have they succeeded? That's what we're going to find out here today on Rumblestrip.NET and 10-Minute Test Drive. So we are out in the Portland area to review the all-new 2018 Camry. We've had a chance to drive 3 different models, 3 different drivetrains, and we think we have a reasonable feel for what this is about. It's much, much better than the previous generation, which we've had a few goes in. It feels up to date. Now, does it reset the bar? No, I really don't think so. But it feels like it's up to spec, up to what everyone else is doing, or something very close. The interesting thing about this new Camry is that for a middle-of-the-road vehicle, it can be highly individualized. There are a plethora of trim choices, 3 different drivetrains. So you have a all-new 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, you have the V6, and then you have the hybrid. And we've driven all 3. And then you have all your different trim levels. You have L, LE, SE, XSE, XLE. I might be missing 1 or 2 in there. But based on the trim level, you have some different bodywork. Different noses, different tails, different treatments on the tail, spoilers, no spoilers, and especially with different color combinations with all of that, it can look very different. There's one vehicle out here, and I'm not sure if we'll have a picture that we can roll in for you or not, but it's an XSE. It's white with a black top and some other black trim. And from certain angles in the rear, it looks like a 5-door hatchback. Good, bad? No, I'm just saying that it looks, it gives it a different look. Certain vehicles, one of the hybrid models and maybe one of the XSE models, appear to be an inch lower, and it closes off the tire to wheel well gap, and it makes it look much better. This is a car that definitely looks better when it is lowered. So, that might be a thing for some people down the road on the 3rd or 4th owner. Generally, it's a good-looking car. They've done the styling fairly well. Not too many objections with it. When we saw it in Detroit, we weren't sure. Having a 2nd and 3rd look at it here on our drive, it's not bad. The nose, yeah. But from the side angle and rear 3/4 view, it actually looks pretty good. It actually looks rather muscular from certain angles. So it's not going to necessarily blend in. I mean, yes, it'll blend in because there'll be, 400,000 of these things sold a year, so you're going to see a lot of them. And the nose is an evolution of what the current, the outgoing Camry model is, and I wish they would have done something different, but that's the direction they're going. Now, again, with the nose, there's 2 different looks. There's sort of a, as someone else described, a baleen kind of grille in the front, and then there's one that's more the sporty model, and the sporty model looks a little bit better, but again, individual tastes. Driving these things, generally good. there are some very specific differences in driving dynamics between the models. The first model we drove was the XLE V6, so it's sort of full spec, luxury, you know, full trim V6. And I have to say, I was really impressed with it in the way it drove. It hides speed amazingly well. We were just going down a 2-lane road, and you look at the heads-up display, which that one had, and the hybrid model we're driving has it as well, and you're a bit amazed at your speed. You know, you're doing 75 miles an hour very quickly, and it feels like 45. We went through a school zone, and we're doing 20 or 25 through the school zone. It felt like if you were to get out and walk, you'd be going faster. So that is a great job for ride quality and noise isolation. And I have to say that XLE model was very quiet. This hybrid model that we're driving, very similar. Some different noises, obviously, because it's a hybrid. The V6 engine, 300 horsepower, and it doesn't feel powerful. Like, it doesn't give you that kick, but like we said, you put your foot into it, and very quickly you're at speed. Now, you go from that to the 4-cylinder, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, where'd all my power go? Well, all the power in the 4-cylinder is about 4,000, because from idle to 4,000, it's fine. Like, for normal daily driving, commuting, you won't be missing too much, right? You just stoplight to stoplight. Put your foot into it, though, on an acceleration to get on an on-ramp to the freeways or whatever, and once you get above 4,000, the motor feels really good. It has a different sensation of speed. Now, the 4-cylinder model we drove was an LE, which is a lower spec model, and that one had a bit more interior noise to it. I'm sorry, that was an SE that we drove, not an LE. And there was just a bit more road noise, wind noise. We really noticed a lot more on that one. So that's, you know, that's fine. And then this hybrid model is an XSE, I believe. It's XLE or XSE. Sorry, I looked at the badge, and actually, if you'll excuse me, I can reach the spec sheet down here. Yes, really good when you're driving on a tight 2-lane road. This is an XLE, that's what I thought. So this is more the luxury, trimmed out version. This one has just the regular sunroof. The XLE we drove with the V6 had a full panoramic sunroof, which was nice. Sunroofs, you know, it's sort of a personal thing. So depending on which model and trim spec level you pick, the new Camry can come with a couple different technology suites. If you go for some of the base trim models or the lower spec models, you'll get a 4.2-inch center display, and you'll get a 7-inch telematics display here in the center stack. Now, the 7-inch display is kind of inset a little bit, and it appears smaller than 7 inches because the center stack area is so large. Now, in this higher spec model that has an 8-inch center display and it's glassed over, so it actually appears larger than 8 inches there. And the center display here is 7.2 inches, and it has much more information, much more clearly displayed. It's just nicer. This higher spec trim will also come with a heads-up display, and you also get a bird's eye camera view. So as you're backing up or maneuvering in a tight spot, you can see it on the display here, and you never have to worry about bumping another car. Now, in this higher spec trim level, it has a JBL audio system with 9 speakers, including a 10.1-inch subwoofer. The sound is fine. It's not anything that's going to stand out, but for the people who are going to buy this car, it's more than good enough. One of the things it does have with it in the Entune 3.0 is a software package called Carify. Now, what that does is it takes streaming audio from apps like Pandora and Spotify, Apple Music, and others, and that music isn't always the highest quality. Well, the software takes it and it actually upconverts it so it sounds much better, maybe like CD quality instead. So that's actually very cool. So in a car as important as the new Camry, you'd expect it to have some of the best safety features that Toyota can offer, and this one does. In fact, it has a whole laundry list of safety features such as blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and a host of other things which you can see right here. It's a really big laundry list. It's very competent on these 2-lane roads, here in Oregon, outside of Portland. It handles these very textured roads well. There's a lot of noise that comes up through that, and it does a good job of isolating it. The ride quality is actually very good in all three trim levels that we've driven, or all three different vehicle models that we've driven. The four-cylinder has a very light feel to it. I mean, it just feels substantially lighter in physical weight and in steering. The V6 feels very hunkered down, very stable. Really good road feel to it. And this hybrid, well, it's not bad. You know, the evolution of hybrids and how they drive have come a long way very quickly here in the last few years. And this one drives mostly like a normal car. You don't necessarily feel the regen brakes. It comes in and out of hybrid power and EV power very nicely. It's good. You know, it's very good. Now, fuel economy. Don't recall all the fuel economies. We'll have a nice little pop-up graphic for you to give you all of them. But off the top of my head, I'm going to say the from lowest to highest, the V6 combined is like 24, 25. The four-cylinder is 32, and then the hybrid is 52. So, pretty big jump in fuel economy for the hybrid. Now, whether that makes financial sense to step up to the hybrid is another question. So, if you're going to choose the hybrid, you're going to actually have to sit down and do some maths. And here's why we say that. So let's say you're comparing the four-cylinder versus the hybrid. You look at it on the surface and you go like, well, combined it's 20 miles to the gallon difference. You know, that's a lot. But so is the jump in price. It's almost $4,000 to step up to a hybrid. Now, if you do the math of based off 15,000 miles a year at 32 miles to the gallon versus 52 miles to the gallon, you'll see what that number is. Divide that by, you know, how much you drive and the price of fuel. Maybe it makes sense for you, maybe it doesn't. As we sit here right now in June of 2017 at $2.50 to $2.75 a gallon for 87 fuel, probably doesn't make sense strictly on a financial scale unless you're going to keep this thing for like 10 years. But if you just want to get better fuel economy because you feel it's better for the environment, well then of course it's going to be worth it to you. The interior materials are nice. They're not exceptional, but they are up to spec. Like a lot of this car, it's up to spec. The dash is a rubberized material here, and it's got a nice texture to it. It's soft touch. It's nice. The leatherette material through here is not bad. We drove one of the lower trim, or we looked at one of the lower trim four-cylinder models, and it had a cloth and leatherette mix, and it was fine. The layout of the dash here is reminiscent of previous generation Avalons, which is fine. The seat is comfortable, but given our limited time in this, I can't tell you how good it's going to be on a long trip. It feels like it will be good for long trips. It's comfortable. It's got a nice firmness to it without feeling too firm, so that it's not going to, after a couple hundred miles, feel too soft nor too hard. It probably has that Goldilocks feel to it. Rear seat room is very good in this. As far as adjustment of the front seat, we spoke with our colleague Henry Payne, who's on this wave with us. He is 6'5", so he said he had plenty of headroom and plenty of legroom. In fact, he called out the legroom in this, saying that he could put the seat all the way back, and he at 6'5" had plenty of legroom and no complaints. The 2018 Toyota Camry is a large step forward compared to the outgoing generation. It rides and drives better, it's quieter, it'll do all the things you need it to do, and you'll never have to worry about it. Is it a class-leading car now? Well, outside the hybrid model's fuel economy, we'll say no, but it's right there with some of the best in class. The Camry is critical to the overall success of Toyota, but the world's fascination with crossover vehicles has pushed its importance down some. But when you're going to sell 400,000 units a year, you still have to execute well, and Toyota has done so with this new model. The Camry is a car that is never going to elicit a lot of passion, but it certainly draws a lot of loyalty, and this new generation will continue to do so.